A warrior sharpens not his blade, but his spirit. Discipline. True discipline is not born in comfort or ease. It is forged in fire. It is hammered, tempered, and reforged in the relentless flames of repetition, sacrifice, and pain. The Japanese call it Hagane no Ishi, the will of steel. A state where one's spirit becomes unbreakable, unmoved by the storms of weakness or the whispers of doubt. You see, anyone can move when the world applauds them. Anyone can persist when there is light on the path. But the ones who reach the scariest level of discipline, they move without applause. They walk through darkness with their eyes fixed on purpose alone. They no longer need motivation, praise, or reward. Their spirit itself has become the weapon. This level of discipline isn't beautiful, it's terrifying, because it strips away everything false. It demands you look into your own eyes and ask, how much of me is real? How much of me will endure the fire? That's where Bushido, the way of the warrior, begins. Not in battle, but in the quiet mastery of the self. If you are ready to step into that fire, to forge yourself into something unshakable, then this message is for you. Comment, I'm ready to forge. Subscribe and become part of this brotherhood, this tribe of modern samurai. Men and women forging steel from their souls. Thank you for walking this path with me, for choosing not comfort but conquest of the self. Now let's break down the 5 pillars that forge a spirit of the scariest level of discipline you've ever seen. Routine. The word sounds ordinary, almost dull, yet in truth it is the hidden forge where greatness is born. The samurai understood this deeply. Every morning, before the sun touched the horizon, they repeated the same rituals, polishing their swords, practicing their stances, meditating until thought itself disappeared. It wasn't about the act, it was about the discipline behind the act. Repetition is the hammer that shapes the steel of your character. When your mind says, not today, and your body still moves, that is when the blade of discipline begins to gleam. To live by routine is to surrender to structure, to let your life become a ceremony of purpose. You don't ask whether you feel like it, you act because you have vowed to. That vow, that unwavering return to your path each day, is what separates the ordinary from the forged. The power of unyielding routine lies in its quiet brutality. It kills comfort slowly, one sunrise at a time. Most people flee from monotony, chasing variety like moths drawn to light. But the warrior embraces monotony as his training ground. It is within the sameness that strength is cultivated. Every repetition burns away hesitation, weakness, and laziness, until only precision remains. Like the swordsmith striking the same spot 1,000 times, you too must repeat your craft until every motion, every thought, every breath becomes an expression of excellence. Routine is not a prison. It is liberation from chaos. The man who lives by it is no longer ruled by impulse or emotion. He becomes consistent, efficient, and dangerously focused, a weapon shaped by his own discipline. In the ancient concept of shugyo, the austere training of body and spirit, warriors believe that mastery is not achieved through passion but through endurance. You do not rise because of motivation, you rise because it's time. The mind learns to obey the will, and the will learns to bow only to duty. This is what unyielding routine teaches. The transcendence of the self. You begin to realize that every small action, when done with complete presence, becomes sacred. Washing your hands, folding your clothes, writing a line, training your body. All become a reflection of your inner order. Repetition no longer feels like burden, but like prayer. Each cycle polishes the soul, carving away distraction and revealing clarity. Through this devotion, your daily habits transform into a living manifestation of your purpose. When you have lived long enough within this rhythm, something extraordinary happens. You no longer resist it. The discipline that once felt heavy becomes your natural state. The body awakens before the alarm. The mind sharpens before the task. You no longer question whether you will act. You simply act, as naturally as breathing. This is what it means to be forged by repetition. Just as the katana endures countless strikes before achieving its perfect edge, so too must your spirit be beaten, tested, and refined by the hammer of consistency. The process is unglamorous, invisible, even lonely, but it births power that cannot be faked. The man of unyielding routine becomes unstoppable, not because he is stronger than others, but because he no longer negotiates with his weakness. Every day he steps into the same fire, and every day he emerges sharper. Pain. The one thing every human runs from, yet the one thing that truly teaches. The warrior does not flee from pain, he bows to it. He understands that every burn, every scar, every moment of struggle is part of the sacred forging. In the samurai code, pain is not punishment. It is purification. When your muscles tremble, when your mind screams to stop, that is the moment the old version of you begins to die. The Japanese word nintai means endurance, the quiet patience to suffer without complaint. This is where real strength lives. The man who avoids pain avoids growth, but the one who faces it, absorbs it, and learns from it becomes fireproof. Pain is the heat that hardens steel. It exposes what is weak and forces transformation. Those who embrace it don't just survive, they transcend. The fire of pain refines your purpose. When you step willingly into discomfort, you strip away illusion, the illusion of control, of comfort, of safety. The samurai who trained under harsh winters and endless drills did so not for strength of body alone, but strength of spirit. Pain clarifies what truly matters. It silences the noise of the world until only one question remains: will I endure? Each hardship is a silent dialogue between you and your soul, and each time you choose to stay, to push forward when everything in you wants to quit, the fire grows smaller. Not because it burns less, but because you've learned to withstand it. You realize that pain is not your enemy, it is your sensei. The teacher who never lies, who shows you exactly where you are still soft. In ancient Japan, warriors meditated upon death to kill fear before battle. They knew that once you've accepted pain, no blade can cut you deeper than your own acceptance. This practice of mushin, the mind without fear or attachment, is born through pain. When the body aches, when fatigue blurs the senses, the mind learns to detach from suffering and act purely on purpose. That is the lesson hidden within every trial. You are not your pain. You are the one who endures it. The world worships comfort, but comfort breeds fragility. The warrior worships growth, and growth demands sacrifice. The difference between a man of discipline and a man of desire is simple. One uses pain as fuel, the other flees it and calls it fate. Every scar you earn in pursuit of mastery is a mark of honor. Do not hide them. Wear them like medals carved into your being. Each represents a moment when you could have broken, but didn't. When the body screamed and you whispered, "One more." The man who embraces pain learns that the fire never truly fades. It only changes form. It becomes the warmth that drives his purpose, the light that guides him when hope is gone. The samurai's fire is eternal, not because he is immune to suffering, but because he has learned to make peace with it. He walks through flames and calls it home. So must you. Step willingly into the fire and let it teach you who you are meant to become. True battle does not begin on the battlefield, it begins within. Before a warrior ever draws his sword, he must master the war inside his own mind. The samurai called this state seishin, the cultivation of a calm and focused spirit. Silent resolve is the essence of this mastery. It is the ability to move forward without noise, to suffer without complaint, to act without the need for recognition. In a world that glorifies noise, the disciplined man becomes terrifying in his stillness. He is unmoved by chaos, unbroken by doubt. His silence is not weakness, it is control. Every decision, every strike, every breath is deliberate. This inner quiet is not born from peace, but from surviving storms so violent that noise itself lost meaning. When you conquer your inner war, the world outside no longer has power over you. The greatest enemy of discipline is not fatigue or failure, it is noise. The endless chatter of the mind. You can rest, you've done enough, you deserve comfort. These are whispers of the untrained spirit. Silent resolve means silencing them, not by shouting back, but by no longer listening. The samurai trained themselves to detach from emotion, not to become heartless, but to act purely through will. When you no longer need to announce your struggle or justify your grind, you have entered a higher form of discipline. The world sees stillness. Only you know the war being fought beneath it. To master the inner war is to become your own commander, calm, measured, and deadly precise. The mind obeys, the will dictates, and emotion bows before duty. This silence is forged through countless trials. It begins when you stop explaining your vision to those who cannot see it. It deepens when you stop needing approval, applause, or understanding. The samurai understood that purpose spoken too early loses power, so they spoke little and trained much. They knew that true strength does not need to prove itself. Silent resolve transforms pain into patience, anger into fuel, and fear into focus. It is the art of carrying fire in your heart while keeping your face like still water. The one who has mastered this becomes unstoppable, not because he never feels weak, but because his weakness no longer controls him. His silence becomes a shield, his composure a weapon. When the time comes to act, the warrior of silent resolve moves with quiet certainty. There is no hesitation, no drama, no noise, only execution. This is the spirit of Fudoshin, the immovable heart. The storms may rage, the world may fall apart, but inside there is stillness. You begin to realize that strength isn't loud, it is silent and absolute. The disciplined mind doesn't seek validation, it seeks victory over the self. Each day you choose stillness over reaction, patience over panic, duty over distraction. You sharpen that inner blade. The world will never understand the weight of the wars you've fought in silence. And that is your advantage, because the quieter you become, the more powerful your discipline grows. Emotion is the wind, fierce, unpredictable, and fleeting. Purpose is the mountain, unmoved by the storms that pass across its face. The samurai understood this truth with sacred clarity. They lived not by feeling, but by duty. To rise only when inspired is weakness. To rise when empty, when exhausted, when hopeless. That is the mark of a warrior. The Japanese concept of giri embodies this. A deep, unbreakable sense of moral obligation that transcends emotion. It is the silent vow that anchors your life when the heart wavers. Those who build discipline upon emotion collapse when their feelings shift. But those who root themselves in purpose cannot be shaken. Emotion burns out, purpose endures. The warrior who moves through pain without asking, "Why me?" and instead whispers, "Because it must be done," becomes unstoppable. When your actions are guided by emotion, you are a leaf carried by the wind of circumstance. But when they are guided by purpose, you become the wind itself. Purpose does not ask whether you are ready. It commands you to act. The disciplined soul learns to separate the feeling of wanting to stop from the decision to continue. That is true freedom. Emotion will always rise and fall, but the man of purpose moves in a straight line through the chaos. Like the archer focusing on his target amid battle, his aim does not waver. This is not coldness, it is mastery. You still feel, you simply refuse to let feeling dictate action. The world calls it heartless, the wise call it control. In every great pursuit, there comes a point where motivation dies. The excitement fades, the results slow, and the path feels endless. This is where most people turn back, not because they lack strength, but because they relied on emotion to guide them. The warrior endures precisely because he has detached from that illusion. His compass is not pleasure or comfort, but purpose. He knows that greatness demands boredom, repetition, and suffering, and he welcomes them all as part of the path. When others lose faith, he remains anchored. The Japanese speak of ikigai, the reason for being. That sacred why that gives meaning to the struggle. Find yours, and you will never again be lost in the storms of emotion. When emotion fails you, and it will, purpose becomes your last light. It steadies your breath, keeps your hand firm, and carries you through the nights when every part of you screams to quit. To act beyond emotion is to achieve a higher form of discipline, one that exists even when the fire fades. This is the quiet power of the warrior's way, to keep moving not because you feel like it, but because you must. To choose the path of duty over desire again and again until it becomes who you are. The man anchored in purpose does not chase strength. He embodies it. His will cannot be swayed because it no longer depends on the heart's fleeting warmth. It is forged in the cold certainty of why. There comes a point in every warrior's journey when he realizes no one is coming to save him. No teacher, no leader, no motivator can walk the path for him. The responsibility to forge oneself lies entirely within. This is self-execution, the art of being both the smith and the sword. The samurai lived by the principle of jisei, self-betrayal, self-governance, and self-discipline carried to the level of sacred duty. They did not wait for guidance or applause. They acted because the act itself was their code. To live by self-execution is to become your own commander, to design your path, set your standards, and punish your own weakness. It is the death of dependency. The fire that shapes you must come from within, and you must be willing to swing the hammer yourself. Every day you choose to either sharpen or rust. The modern world breeds softness by design. It rewards excuses, celebrates mediocrity, and fears accountability. But the warrior of self-execution rejects all of it. He does not seek motivation. He manufactures it. He doesn't need a crowd to move. He moves because his mission demands it. This is what makes him terrifying. He cannot be controlled, manipulated, or stopped. When you become both creator and creation, you hold complete dominion over your evolution. You no longer blame others, time, or circumstance. You realize that every failure is a result of your own hesitation, and every victory a result of your own relentless action. The disciplined man lives by a private code. Do what must be done, no matter what it costs. There is no external judge, only the reflection staring back in silence. To execute yourself is to destroy the weaker version daily. You must kill laziness with effort, kill doubt with repetition, and kill fear with exposure. This process is brutal and endless, but necessary. Like the swordsmith who must strike his creation thousands of times to perfect its edge, you must strike yourself. Not in punishment, but in refinement. Each time you demand more of yourself, you harden the spirit. Each time you refuse compromise, you sharpen the edge. This is what it means to live with self-execution, to act as your own warrior, your own mentor, your own judge. The world will not understand your discipline. It will mistake your silence for arrogance, your consistency for obsession. Let it. You do not exist to be understood, you exist to be forged. When you embrace this level of accountability, freedom begins. The man who commands himself needs no master. The warrior who holds his own standard cannot be broken by external pressure because he already lives under a higher one. This is the final transformation, when the fire no longer comes from outside, but burns eternally within. You wake, move, and fight, not because you have to, but because it is who you are. You have become the blacksmith and the blade, the architect and the weapon. The process never ends, and that is the beauty of it. Every sunrise is another chance to execute, to refine, to rise again sharper than before. This is self-mastery, the highest and scariest form of discipline. The moment you realize the only one left to conquer is you. Discipline is not a gift. It is not something granted by talent, luck, or motivation. It is earned, in silence, in struggle, and in solitude. The samurai knew this truth well, that the spirit must be shaped like steel, hammered again and again until it no longer bends to weakness. The 5 pillars you've just walked through, unyielding routine, embrace of pain, silent resolve, purpose beyond emotion, and self-execution, are not lessons to be admired. They are fires to be stepped into. Each one strips away illusion and weakness, until what remains is something raw, unbreakable, and terrifyingly pure. This is the essence of the scariest level of discipline you've ever seen, not the absence of pain, but the mastery of it. The modern world will never understand this path. It glorifies comfort, celebrates distraction, and fears stillness. But you are different. You are not here to fit in. You are here to forge in. Every repetition, every sacrifice, every silent victory builds the unseen armor of your spirit. Discipline, when taken to its highest form, ceases to be an action. It becomes your identity. You no longer do discipline. You are discipline. You move without hesitation, endure without complaint, and execute without emotion. Like the ancient warrior, your strength no longer shouts, it radiates. So to those who've walked this far, understand this: the journey never ends, the fire never cools, the forge never sleeps. Each day you rise, you return to the anvil, not to rebuild what's broken, but to sharpen what's eternal. This is how warriors are made, not in battlefields but in bedrooms before dawn, not in cheers but in silence, not in comfort but in the fire you choose to face again and again. If these words resonate with your spirit, then you already know this path is not for everyone. It's for the few willing to destroy who they were to become who they must be. Comment, "I forge myself." Subscribe and continue walking with this brotherhood of warriors who choose the hard road, the road of iron, fire, and will, because the world doesn't need more dreamers, it needs more forged souls. This is the scariest level of discipline you've ever seen.